everyone, it's Rico here. Let me ask you something. Are you setting your business up for failure by hiring the wrong people at the wrong time? Today, we're diving into a topic that might just make or break your business: the battle between generalists and specialists. Unfortunately, many organizations and businesses get this wrong. They either cling to generalists for too long or bring in specialists way too early, and it kills their growth. I've seen it happen over and over again. So, if you want to avoid the same fate, stick with me because I'm going to show you exactly how to get this right, and it might not be what you expect. Let's start with a harsh truth. In the early stages of your business, generalists are necessary evil. Yep, I said it. They're the jack of all trades who can keep the lights on. But if you're not careful, they can also be the ones that hold your business back. You definitely need them at first. There's no way around it. They're your go-to people for getting everything off the ground. From marketing to finance to operations, whatever it is, generalists know how to set things up. Take me as a prime example. I am a strong generalist. I know enough about creative development and marketing to be a one-man show. It's how I was able to build such a successful career. I know how to develop tests and campaigns, execute against the creative needs, launch and evaluate, and then productize. Then, rinse and repeat, do it all over again. Because I can do this, I know all of the steps needed to scale up the process. But, newsflash, and this might sting a bit, it did for me until I discovered my superpowers. Relying on generalists too far down the road will set yourself up for failure. I've seen startups crash and burn because they didn't know when to let go and to bring in those specialists. I learned this early at Zappos and was able then to apply those learnings into the teams I built at Boot Barn, Swim Outlet, Symantec, Netflix, and at OutSchool. My largest teams being the Zappos content team and then the Netflix creative studio. Now here's where things get tricky and where most people screw up. You might think, I'll just hire a bunch of specialists from the beginning. Duh, they'll bring in the expertise and will skyrocket to success. Wrong. Bringing in specialists too early is like trying to run a marathon when you're still learning how to walk. It's not just premature, it gets dangerous. Now don't get me wrong, these are broad strokes. Specialists are incredible at what they do, but if you bring them in before your business is ready, you'll find yourself with a bunch of experts who can't get the basic work done because their focus is much too narrow. If you have a copywriter but need design work done, now you need to hire a designer. But if you had a designer that knows enough about copy or vice versa, they are way more valuable in the beginning. Trust me, I've seen companies drown in their own ambition just because they jumped the gun on specialists. Pro tip, if you build your team of generalists from the start, as you scale, and considering you hired great talent, you now have a strong leaders in training group to help you scale. They know the processes, they know what good looks like, and they can more easily transition into leading multidisciplinary teams because they themselves are multidisciplined. Quick poll for you. Comment down below if you think you're a generalist or a specialist, and if any of this sounds familiar to you. I'd love to hear back from you. So how do you know when it's time to make the switch? This is where you need to be laser focused because getting the timing right will mean everything to your business and your organization. And I said it earlier, but this is a huge caveat. These are broad strokes and your situation might be different. For example, I did these things at a true startup when I joined Zappos with less than 40 employees. But I also did the same exact thing at Netflix, who had over 2,000 employees when I joined. Never mind, there were 15,000 when I left. Okay, so timeline 1, early stage startups, say 0 to 12 months-ish. This is when you're going from 0 to 1. Your team, primarily generalists, and let's talk about why. You probably have a super diverse workload. Your team is juggling everything, and it's working, sort of. But you know you can't keep this up forever. But generalists are typically good at pivoting and working on multiple things. Remember, I said generally, don't quote me, alright? You might be the outlier. You're also likely experimenting like mad, and that is good for new businesses and new teams. Seeing what works for your team, your business, it's how you find the right product market fit, what the brand is, how to market, all of those foundational things. But as soon as you start seeing patterns, it's time to think bigger. And as we all know, startups are typically resource constrained. Again, not all, so bear with me, not all. Generally though, budgets are tight and you're squeezing every drop of productivity out of your generalists. And they are usually up to the task and are flexible enough to do what is needed no matter what it is. Kind of like this guy. Or maybe not. So that's what life can look like in the building and early stages of a startup. Some companies never really grow out of this stage. depending on the product, the industry, the business model, so many other things, and that's okay. You might just need generalists forever. Don't sweat it if that's you, right? Every business is different. Now, moving on to the scaling phase, which happens after the startup stage. So for sake of this video, think 18 to 24 months and beyond. Your team here is usually generalist, starting to transition to specialist, paving the way for more specialized organizational structures. With growth comes increased complexity of work and organizations. Suddenly, things are getting a bit too complicated for your generalists. They're good, but not always good at being specialized and breaking down complex workflows into small, easy steps. Remember, these are broad strokes. You may be the exception. So if this isn't you, this is a general sense, right? With that, usually the business needs to become more efficient. You're even craving that efficiency. Even maybe the board is asking you to be more efficient. And you know that without specialists, you're just going to start spinning your wheels. You'll see where in special areas, if you can get there faster, you can either create more revenue or cut costs. Either or both will help the business continue to grow. And lastly, you may start to see your generalists starting to struggle. They may be starting to buckle under pressure. What used to take 3 steps now involves more people, more process, and more steps that can be overwhelming and even frustrating for generalists. It's time to let them specialize or bring in the specialists. But as I mentioned before, this doesn't mean the generalist journey is over. It might mean a promotion to oversee multidisciplinary teams or to build another needed function somewhere else within the business. Now, if you miss these markers, you may find yourself either stuck in neutral or crashing before you even reach second gear. And where does that leave you? If you're playing it safe and sticking with generalists too long, or if you're jumping the gun and loading up on specialists before you're ready, you may be setting yourself up for failure either way. The key is knowing exactly when to make that leap and having the guts to do it. The conviction. That's how you set yourself up for success. Knowing what practices and strategies are called for what situations. That's leadership. Scaling teams and growing your business is a big one. Look, I've built teams from scratch and I've seen what works and I've seen what doesn't. The businesses that thrive are the ones that master this balance. They know when to pivot, when to specialize, and when to scale. Now, this is my challenge to you. Take a good hard look at your team. Are you holding on to generalists because it's comfortable? Or are you rushing into specialists because you think it'll solve all of your problems? Either way, it's time to get real about what your business really needs. If you're serious about growth, you need to nail this balance. And if you're ready to do that, I'm here to help you every step of the way. You can DM me for help, or if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the video so you can get more tips and tricks just like this one. Don't let your team be the reason you fail. Get it right, and you'll build something unstoppable and something amazing. Until next time, keep pushing forward and keep building something great. Remember, if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you, and I will see you next time.